So Cincy's star pass rusher Trey Hendrickson spoke unfiltered with the media today about his contract situation, and it's even worse than we thought. There's been poor communication, but when there is communication, it's to let him know he's going to get fined, plenty of false narratives floating around, and Trey has been sick of it all. This could honestly drag on for a long time because he wants his money and has more than earned it. Well, in today's video, I'll break down what's going on with that wild situation, talk about unfortunate injuries, additional schedule leaks, and more right after. Alright, first up, Browns linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is set to miss the entire 2025 season after the Browns placed him on the PUP list yesterday. He sustained the injury last season during Week 8 in a collision with Derrick Henry. It was a pretty scary incident in which Owusu-Koramoah actually got hospitalized overnight, and that was sadly the last we saw of him in 2024 after he got placed on IR. He's someone they've had really high hopes for, drafting him in the second round of the 2021 NFL Draft, and even giving him a 3-year, $39 million extension last offseason after Jeremiah led the team in tackles in 2023. I don't think any of this is taking Cleveland by surprise one bit, though. They've been pretty proactive with the linebacker room this offseason. They signed veteran Jerome Baker to a 1-year deal, then re-signed Devin Bush, although he's got some off-the-field issues he's dealing with currently, and his status with the team is unclear at this point in time. The biggest addition, though, was drafting linebacker Carson Swessinger, 33rd overall, so the first pick of the second round. So they definitely got some guys in that room for sure, though of course we'll see how that unit holds up over the course of the season. As for Owusu-Koramoah, hopefully he's able to get right this year and come back even stronger in 2026. Next up, the Trey Hendrickson contract situation has escalated even more after he showed up to practice today to speak with the media. Trey spoke pretty freely with them for just over 20 minutes after practice ended, reiterating that he's incredibly disappointed in the lack of communication from the Bengals front office and just how this entire process has played out. I will say this, he seems like he wants to be a Bengal long term, and he was very respectful the entire time, saying as a man of faith, he felt it necessary to come out there and be a man addressing the rumors and the situation as respectfully as he can to put to rest just anything going on as far as false reports are concerned. With that said, it's clearly not a great situation, and before I dive a bit more into what Trey had to say, the recap of what's been going on up until this point is as follows. Trey has been wanting a longer-term deal for 3 years now, and he claims that the team told him they would reward him and something would get worked out this offseason. Well, he just had his second straight year of 17.5 sacks. I actually had to Google that to double check it. Good God, that is a lot of sacks. And he led the entire NFL this past season, so there's not much more Trey could have done on his end. He ended up requesting a trade for the second straight year, and while the Bengals allowed him permission to seek one out, the reports were that they still intended on signing him, even after paying Jamar Chase and T. Higgins all the money they did. Then, Bengals executive VP Katie Blackburn made comments indicating that it's Trey who is holding this contract process up. Well, obviously, he didn't care for that and went on the Pat McAfee show to express his disappointment in the team. He then released a statement via Adam Schefter yesterday saying that there's been no communication with the team since the draft, and they didn't follow through on promises made last offseason. And according to Hendrickson, when he spoke with the media today, what motivated him to show up and speak about things was Bengals coach Zach Taylor recently sending him a text notifying him that he will be fined if he doesn't show up for mandatory minicamp, which starts on June 11th. That was frustrating to him because in his mind, he took that to mean the team doesn't even expect a contract to get done with him before then, because why else would they send him that if they were actively trying to get something done? He's not an idiot though. He knows there's fines for missing mandatory minicamp as well as training camp. So I think that text probably seemed a little disrespectful to him when there's been little to no communication prior to that. For what it's worth though, he does think the relationship between he and the team can be repaired, even referencing the Myles Garrett situation with the Browns. If you remember, Myles Garrett requested a trade and he said he wanted to play for a contender. The Browns then said, no thanks. Myles tried to meet with the owner, Jimmy Haslam, and he refused to meet with him face to face, so it looked like the situation was kind of heading for disaster. Then out of nowhere, a few days later, news broke out that Myles Garrett agreed to a contract with the Browns, making him the highest paid defender in NFL history. So yeah, at the end of the day, money is king. King Kong in this situation. Trey was asked straight up, though, if he would be willing to play this season under his current contract, and he said one word: no. He was pretty honest about that one. That contract, by the way, is set to expire after the season, and he's set to make $16 million in 2025, which is 22nd among edge rushers. He obviously believes he's one of the best pass rushers out there, and he's got the sack numbers to prove it, so he wants more. He also made mention of all the other pass rushers that got paid this past offseason. Myles Garrett, yes, but then Danielle Hunter and Max Crosby also signed extensions that made them the second and third highest paid defensive ends right behind Garrett. The funny thing is, the main argument that's been made for why the Bengals should not pay Trey is because of his age. He's 30 and will be 31 in December, but Myles Garrett is turning 30 in December, so just 1 year younger, and he's under contract with the Browns through 2030 with his new deal. Obviously, they could probably get out a little bit sooner than that, but that is the outside of the contract looking in. And then Danielle Hunter is even older than Trey Hendrickson by a couple months, and the Texans just extended him, though to be fair, it was just a 1 year extension, whereas Trey is seeking a longer term deal like Myles Garrett. He's definitely proved his worth, but unfortunately, the Bengals so far just don't seem interested in signing him to a long-term deal that he wants. He said he can't predict the future when asked if he plans on holding out during training camp, but considering he said he's not going to play the season under his current deal, I'm going to go ahead and assume he ain't showing up unless a deal gets done. The Bengals have put themselves in a pretty tough situation here. They waited too long on paying both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and as a result, they had to pay Jamar $40 million per year coming off the season he just had. Then they made T. Higgins the highest paid wide receiver 2 in the league. They still have around $27 million in cap space for this season, so it's not impossible they get a deal worked out, but they still have 2 other contracts that will soon be signed and eat up some of that money. It's actually a little crazy because the Bengals drafted defensive end Shamar Stewart 17th overall, but he has yet to sign his rookie deal, and while he attended rookie minicamp, he did not participate in on-field drills. He probably signs his contract here soon. I mean, definitely before training camp, I would think. But there was some discrepancy in negotiations with his contract from what I understand, and he decided it was best to not practice during minicamp. He was in the meetings and all that, just didn't participate on the field. Even crazier yet, Stewart wasn't alone in that because linebacker Demetrius Knight Jr., their second-round pick, also hasn't signed his rookie contract and then also didn't participate in rookie minicamp. Well, at least day 1 of rookie minicamp, because Demetrius Knight himself took to X today to report or refute a report that this is news to him, considering the holdout continuing and him not participating in team drills, because he said then, had a great practice today and looking forward to practice tomorrow. Thanks. So that looks like it was just a one-day thing. Spotrac projects that those 2 contracts will take up a little over $5 million in cap space in 2025, which means that will be $5 million less they have to work with the Trey Hendrickson situation and trying to get him extended. But hey, with all that being said, what do you guys make of all this with Cincinnati and their contract negotiations, especially that of Trey Hendrickson? Do you think Trey ends up signing a new deal with them after all, or what do you think actually ends up happening? Let me know your thoughts either way in the comments down below. Next up, while the full NFL schedule releases tomorrow, we now know every international game as well as some other pretty notable matchups. For international games, the Chargers will be hosting a team in Brazil the day after the season opener between the Eagles and the Cowboys. It's not officially been announced by the NFL yet, at least as of when I'm recording this video on Tuesday, but it seems like the Chargers' opponent is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs in that game. Then, this is pretty wild, but it's now confirmed that the Minnesota Vikings will be playing back-to-back games overseas in 2 different countries. They'll be playing as the away team in both, taking on the Steelers in Dublin, Ireland, week 4, and then they'll travel to London, where they'll meet the Cleveland Browns week 5. The Jags have played back-to-back games in London for the past 2 seasons now, but this will be the first time that a team has played 2 international games in different countries in the same season. They'll also be the first quote-unquote road team to play back-to-back weeks, and while staying overseas and traveling to a different country in between games sounds pretty crazy, one benefit here is that 2 of the Vikings away games will be played at a neutral site, and I would think they are even more adjusted to the switch up in time zones for that second game. Now after that, the Jets will be hosting the Broncos in London for a Week 6 matchup. Then the Jags will be hosting the Rams the following week, though the game will be played in Wembley Stadium, whereas the other 3 London games will be held in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I hope I said that right, but I probably butchered it. After the London games, the Colts will play host to the Atlanta Falcons in Week 10 in Berlin, Germany. This isn't the first game in Germany, but it is the first one in Berlin, so that's pretty cool. And finally, the 2025 International Series wraps up in Week 11 with the Dolphins and Commanders squaring off in Madrid. So those are all the international games. but here's some other games that have already been confirmed as well. The Eagles are traveling to Lambeau Field Week 10 to take on the Packers on Monday Night Football. These teams played each other twice last year, Week 1 in Brazil, and then in the wild card round in Philly. The Eagles got the dub both times, so we'll see if the Packers can get a little payback on their home field this year. And speaking of both those teams, there'll be 2 of the 4 squads playing in a doubleheader on Fox in Week 16, which is actually on Saturday, December 20th. The Eagles will travel to Washington and play the Commanders, and the Packers will head to Chicago to face the Bears. Kind of cool. We get 2 big rivalry games back-to-back that day. We just have to hope that all 4 teams still have something to play for that late in the season, and then that might also mean these 4 teams end up playing on Christmas. Last year, Christmas was on a Wednesday, Tuesday. It was on a weird day, and a bunch of teams played on Saturday, one of them being the Chiefs, and then they all played on Christmas, playing a different team. There's 3 games slated that day, talking about Christmas, and as of right now, I just don't know the first 2 games, but the evening game has indeed been confirmed. Since Christmas is on a Thursday, the evening game will be on Amazon Prime, and it'll be an AFC West showdown with the Broncos heading into Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs. This will be the 3rd year in a row that KC plays on Christmas, which is actually what they want. Nate Taylor of The Athletic reported that the team submitted a request to the NFL for them to become, quote, a fixture on Christmas Day, kind of like how the Lions and Cowboys always play on Thanksgiving. That's basically what the Chiefs want for Christmas. That request wasn't actually granted from what I understand, but for this year at least, it was. And then backtracking a moment, but on the subject of Amazon, they also have rights to the Black Friday matchup as well, and that is going to be the Eagles, who I've already mentioned about 69 times. They once again will be back in primetime hosting the Chicago Bears on that day, Black Friday, which is Week 13. So unless other games get leaked as I'm recording this video, those are the ones that have officially been confirmed as of right now. You guys got to let me know your thoughts on what we know about so far. Any games that stand out to you? Which ones are you excited for the most? Let me know either way in the comments down below. And with that, I'll see y'all next time.